Is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
September the 22nd, 2016. My name is S.M. Gibson. You are listening to Anti-Media Radio. We are having a situation in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, the last time we were on air, we were talking about problems in Tulsa with Terrence Crutcher. As most probably know by now, Betty Shelby, the officer who shot Mr. Crutcher, she was charged today with first-degree manslaughter, and we're going to be talking about that tonight. Also, the situation in Charlotte, among some other things, some stuff that's going on, of course, in the Middle East, and what our government is currently allowing. Just sent over approved kind of shot down a bill that would have prevented the United States from sending $1 billion worth of tanks to Saudi Arabia, even though Saudi Arabia has been caught committing many a war crime. Plus, you know, they were implicated in, the 28 pages 2 months ago for being involved in 9/11 and funding it. So, yeah, that's what we're allowing, and we just sold them over $1 billion worth of arms. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest host for the evening, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Can't complain. It seems like it's getting crazy in Charlotte. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Kevin Knight as well. Kevin, what's going on?
What's up, man? It's good to be back with you fine gentlemen once again.
I've actually got the news on for once here, and I'm watching the crowds. And yeah, actually the same guy that owned CNN once upon a time did own WCW. So yeah, not much difference.
Who was that? Ted Turner?
It was Ted Turner, yeah.
That guy.
But I tell you, one thing that I have noticed is, since I rarely keep up too much with corporate media, but I've had it on because of the situation there, and also, of course, keeping up through Twitter and live feeds of the situation on the ground. But is how corporate media is viewing this. You know, they're focusing in on you, and I guess, you know, the same could be said for, you know, the cops as well. They focus in, you know, on the percentage that's the loudest, that's doing the most damage. Because from what I've seen, the protesters are, I mean, they've got it together. They seem really smart. They seem really informed. We're living in a different age of information we ever have in the history of the world, though. think about how informed people are compared to when when this was happening in the 60s. People didn't know what was going on. But now it seems they do have a sense of it because we've got look at the Terrence Crutcher situation. We didn't see this kind of reaction in Tulsa, and I think a lot of that has to do, first off, is they released the video footage and, didn't appear to try to be covering anything up, even though, they had a different story at the beginning of it, of course. The video kind of sorted that out. The situation we've got here in Charlotte, they're stalling for whatever reason. I think it's reasonable to, let the family deal with this first because, not only, of course this is a loss to the community, but those directly affected should definitely, be, I think, the one driving the car more or less as far as that video goes, because it's going to be a video of your family member going around the world and of them being killed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That I think there's a couple different reasons that, we're seeing what we're seeing in Charlotte versus what we're seeing in Tulsa. And again, I touched on this Tuesday when we discussed the Terrence Crutcher situation, the Terrence Crutcher murder, let's call it what it is. Referenced what had happened in Tulsa in 1921. And I kind of think that, the community there they've seen a much more violent display of racism versus, what we deal with here in the South. Everybody has to kind of get quiet with it and so on and so forth. Have you ever been to Tulsa?
Yeah.
You ever been out that way? It's kind of shocking. I guess I take for granted because, I've traveled throughout the United States, and I don't know, anytime I go outside of the direct southeastern region, I don't know, I've always naively kind of figured that it would get less racist, and man, you go out that way and it is way more racist than it is here in Alabama, and that's saying something.
Alabama just gets a bad rap for it.
Well, a lot of that had to do with
and I think
bombs going off
Gibson,
here in the 60s.
Mr. Gibson touched on it just a second ago too. It was the way information was spread. What went on in Birmingham was broadcast all over the world. All over the world.
Well, a lot of people.
What happened in Tulsa was well before mass media as we know it, and it was just regulated to local newspapers and the New York Times. So.
Yeah,
a lot of people think that it's still the same way. Also, that it was in the 1960s, and that suffers from, and unfortunately, and hey, it's a lot of times stereotypes and and issues. That may not be too far from a little bit of truth, but that's probably a lot of areas probably suffer from the same handicap.
Well, I think you have to remember that people can have hate in their heart no matter where they live.
Right, definitely.
And and you see it with the protests and the way the media is talking about all, the crazy riots. Look, there's people out there that are throwing stuff and setting fire to stuff, and I can't personally see what that's accomplishing, but 95% of the people out there are marching for a reason and not acting crazy.
Right.
And they have a very valid concern.
Well, in Charlotte also, I want to say it was like 3 years ago, there was another high-profile police shooting there that the city wound up settling out over $2 million to the family. And, of course, the offending officer, because there was a hung jury in the trial, the offending officer was given $180,000 by taxpayers for back pay and lawyers' fees and so on and so forth. So yeah, there is a precedent that's also been set in Charlotte. As far as why they're getting louder about it than Tulsa, at the end of the day, we really don't know. It's just the people in Charlotte seemed to be a little bit more fed up by it. And I think
transparency has a lot to do with it. I think a lot of it's transparency.
And I think you're right. I do. I think you're right. At least the fact that Tulsa
the
came
lack of,
forward.
or
Yeah, I think it's the perception, whether it's not saying it's not a justified perception at all, but the perception that Charlotte's dragging their feet on this. The story kind of keeps changing. Nobody's seen the video yet, and you hear gun, 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 book. One thing I noticed last night, they were talking to a young guy on, I don't know if it was Anderson Cooper, if it was Sean Hannity, but there was a kid, it was Sean Hannity, because he kept going on about, you don't know the facts. And the kid goes, it doesn't matter what the facts are. He goes, I'm not out here because of one situation. I'm out here because I have a child, and I don't want to be in fear of my child walking out of the house and them not coming home for no reason. And we've had situations all over the country for a while now, and there hasn't been justice served. I think that, this is an overall frustration. This is a lot bigger than one instance. And
yeah, agreed, Tom Steen. Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's not just black and white, man, but it's a shame that it seems like one minority has to be the group of people that are being the one really calling out a lot of this injustice, to be honest with you.
But I'll tell you this too: there's people there that are there just to go crazy, and those people aren't doing anybody any favors, I don't think, because for the people there that are sitting here saying, "Look, somebody's got to listen to us." The people that aren't listening are only going to look at the people throwing stuff and go, "See, we told you. You don't know how to act."
Right. And at the same time, I think it's very important to point out too, because Kevin just said that it really isn't an issue of race. But having said that, we do have to acknowledge that people of color are singled out by law enforcement because of socioeconomic situations they've already been put in, where the cops know that they're rolling up on somebody who's poor, somebody who's indigent, somebody just simply based on the color of their skin. I mean, that's something something to consider. Why would a cop automatically pull somebody of color over, knowing right off the bat that they're probably doing something illegal, they've got something illegal on them? That can be said for probably about 80% of Americans driving right now got something in their car they're not supposed to have, whether it be a pocket knife or a gun or whatever the case may be.
Or even committing a crime driving.
Look at Terrence Crutcher in Tulsa, okay? Like, his car was broke down. It's not even talking about getting pulled over. His car had just broke down and he needed help. So we're not even...
As the story goes, they have, and we touched on it the other night, but they have, or at least the homicide detective in Tulsa has verified that they did find PCP in his car. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah.
But they declined to... The guy that, from what I understand, the sergeant in charge declined to say actually if he had it in his system at the time or where it was found in the vehicle. So I don't know. It would not surprise me at all. And even there's ex-police officers. I can't help but think back when some of the biggest complaints. I say biggest complaints. Some of the better arguments for the fact that there are corrupt cops out there, and that it's not a case of all the boys in blue are great, put it that way. It's other cops coming forward. You hear other cops coming forward, and that's where you hear some of the most gruesome injustices done to people. And it doesn't scratch the throwing, planting drugs, guns, whatever is that doesn't even scratch the surface as to what it comes to that individuals and people will go to get what they're after. And just because they happen to wear a badge, that doesn't necessarily change that.
That's what people forget. Everybody, this whole problem is everybody wanting to look at whether it's somebody all with the same certain color skin or everybody's all got the same job. They just throw everybody in this group and label it. And that's crazy. With cops, you can't say they're all this, they're all great. No, they're not all great. They're not all bad. It's the same with any demographic you're talking about. We're all just people. And why, I don't understand the disconnect that people have, that they're just like, well, it was a cop, so they have to be right. Like, that's crazy. Why can't you look at a video? There's people that defend this stuff after videos are released.
Mm-hmm.
And yet everybody's seen what happened. And think about Eric Garner. There are people, nothing happened to the cop that killed a man on camera, choked him out, still don't know why, because he was selling loose cigarettes. And nothing was done. It was on video.
And the guy who videotaped it actually got arrested.
Yeah, he got in more trouble than the cop that did it.
And framed, and they claimed that he...
no, he got in trouble. The cop that did it got in no trouble at all.
No, he actually got arrested. He claimed that he tried to slip a gun into somebody else's pants when the cops came up to him to grab him for some unknown thing. I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a lot of apparently the prisoners in that same place where this guy ended up staying got sick, and it turned out there was supposedly rat poison that had been put in the food and sprinkled out supposedly. Now that was so all kind of horrible stuff, which it wouldn't surprise me one bit, the stuff that comes out of some of these jail cells. But anyways, not to get off another subject, but it just goes to show you, that a lot of times the offenders walk and the people that are trespassed and their faces smashed in with the boots go on to get screwed further by the state.
Yeah, it's,
Nasty.
It is. It's a sad state of affairs, and, unfortunately, I don't know if things are going to change anytime soon. One can only hope. More than anything, my thoughts are with the people of Charlotte right now, and especially the families of Keith Scott, Terrence Crutcher, both going through what they're going through. I can't imagine being the family of one of these victims.
No, now here's the interesting thing about Charlotte.
On around it.
One of the interesting things about Charlotte, though, is that we haven't brought this up, is the fact that Keith Scott was murdered by a African American police officer. From what all the reports that are coming out, Brentley Vinson, there are eyewitnesses on the ground. From some of I was kind of catching up because I've been really busy today and had to kind of catch up with the news shortly before the broadcast. And there was actually a couple eyewitness reports that are saying that no, it was actually a older bald-headed white man that shot him. So there's discrepancies now on actually who was the police officer that shot and killed Keith Scott.
As far as what the skin color of the cop was, I could care less. Like, to be honest with you, it makes no difference.
Well, if there was a video, we would know, right?
We would know that.
Well, somebody knows right now.
Oh, certainly. They said today that, and I didn't realize this until today, wife actually witnessed the event from the shooting. His wife. So, as far as did he or did he not have a gun, the people that need to know if he did or not, unquestionably. So, the public and the rest of us will find out, I guess, only in time. I wanted to throw this Ryan Butcher, one of our great artists.
Yeah, the Dark Lord of Dank.
Yeah, he just sent me a stat. Since 2003, I just found this interesting. Since 2003, 4,486 Americans have died in the Iraqi war. 2,325 have been killed since the Afghanistan war started in 2001. And over 8,000 have been killed by police in the United States since 9/11/2001.
Wow.
The terrorist numbers don't compare at all to terrorism and war numbers compared to police killings here in the U.S. Who would have thought?
Yeah, that's a nut stat. We could sit here and talk about this for the rest of the night probably, but I want to go ahead.
Well, I do want to bring one thing up before we shift gears. We'd also have another shooting out of Ohio that involves a child and a pellet gun. This story is a little bit more, I don't know, pointed than the Tamir Rice story because it involves the police actually running after some suspects, and the narrative that is coming out from the Columbus Police Department is that he, of course, reached for his waistband. How many times we heard that?
Oh man,
and went to pull this pellet gun out that looks like, apparently, I don't know if the pellet gun, or they're insinuating that the pellet gun was used in the, I think it was a holdup or an armed robbery that they were responding to, and so, of course, citizens of Ohio are bracing themselves this evening as well. Probably watching the news and seeing what's going on in Charlotte and looking out the window.
And what happened again?
Apparently, the police were called to a armed robbery.
Okay, I missed that part. Gotcha.
It was either an armed robbery or burglary or something. I think it was something that was involving a weapon. They were chasing some individuals seen fleeing from the scene. Apparently, one of them stopped and reached for his waistband and was shot. That was I believe the young man was either 12 or 13. I don't have the information in front of me right now, but
you talking about Tyree King?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a really sad situation too. Yeah, it happened back in September. It's really, yeah. Well, I guess is it still September? Yeah, I mean
it is September.
Yeah, it's still.
So it happened like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I don't know. Either way, it's sad that they just all kind of run together. There's so many of them. Lose track of.
So again, I mean, I can't stress this enough. It is indeed a white and black issue. There are certainly a lot of white unarmed citizens that are being shot and killed by police, or either they're armed with a stick or a knife or whatever the case may be. But we have to say that, again, they all just seem to run together. Yet another person of color is shot or drop kicked or strangled or choked or something, or slammed around in a van till they just beat themselves to death or something.
But look, I saw somebody earlier today going with the whole statistic, that this year I think it had been, let me see if I can find it, over 300, almost 400 white people have been killed by police versus like 170 black people. First off, the percentage difference is crazy. But there goes the argument, look, we kill lots of people no matter the color. Like, that one always loses me, is that the argument that cops aren't racist is, look, they kill way more white people. Like, the problem is all these people getting killed. At the end of the day, their skin color is irrelevant. The problem is, and no matter the skin color, there should be justice done in the situation. Look, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
Well, it goes one step further in that the African American community, as a percentage of the population, is a lot smaller. So when you take into consideration, the police have actually killed a larger percentage of the population of African Americans.
Yeah, it's like
compared to whites.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and we're just talking about the ones that are dead. we're just talking about the ones that were shot and killed. We're not talking about the ones that are constantly harassed, constantly thrown in jail for trumped up bullshit charges, et cetera, so on and so forth. Their rate of interaction is way higher than it is. Let's be frank. I'm a sketchy looking white dude, and I can drive through just about every neighborhood in town, unless it's the black part of town, without any kind of fear of interaction with the police, unless I'm just driving like an idiot. I don't drink anymore, so the chances of that have gone down. So.
Or 2 a.m. at your Mountain Brook.
Yeah, Mountain Brook will pull you over unless you're driving a Lexus.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and run down some of these headlines real quick. Largest hack of all time, question mark. And I don't know if y'all heard about this. Yahoo confirmed that 500 million users, their information has been Yahoo accounts. You should probably go change all your passwords and questions, answers to questions, whatever you got. Somebody has your info now more than just Yahoo, and it's all out in the open. So I don't know anybody that has it. I didn't know people still use Yahoo, so apparently they do. 500 million people.
I still have a Yahoo email account. In fact, I've had a Yahoo email account for, well over a decade now.
Well, I'm just so I can play pool.
I'm under the assumption that both of y'all should probably change your passwords.
I have a hot account too.
So anyways,
there's nothing of any kind of anything that they're going to find with my Yahoo password. Good luck if they can get anything out of it.
Did y'all hear about the other DC leak? The White House, their email, this staffer, he got hacked, and a few things came out. Nothing major, but so far that we've seen. I was going through it a little bit today, and nothing really stuck out. Michelle Obama's passport, and there's people saying, oh, it's not even, because it's allegedly, of course, and then there's people saying, well, she's smiling in the passport. That can't be real. But it's like, you realize that she's the first lady. I think if she wants, I'm sure she wants to smile in her passport. They'll bend the rules for her a little bit. So I don't know, if it's legit, but yeah, the whole smiling thing kind of lost me. Over 1,200 historians, archaeologists, and museum directors have denounced the Dakota Access Pipeline. Everybody's still up there protesting. It's not looking great up there. But our thoughts are to everybody that's trying to fight the pipeline. We're doing with that in Alabama right now, and Georgia. And I tell you what, they're having gas shortages all over the South. I was driving through Tennessee over the weekend, and you could only get $15 in gas, and they only had one available option. That was it. Like, you couldn't get any more than $15 because of the 250,000 gallon gas leak that happened about 30 minutes or 30 miles below Birmingham.
Yeah, it's really close to my house, and my favorite gas station. I say favorite gas station. The gas station I frequent most, leaving work every day. Actually, I pulled in, and sure enough, they were closed, out of gas completely.
So that's what the people at the pipeline in North Dakota are trying to prevent from that possibly happening there. So you can't really blame them. Also, this one gets really, really, really under my skin. So, the Senate yesterday, they put down a bill that would have prevented the sale of $1.15 billion, like 120 tanks and some other junk, over to Saudi Arabia.
Gross.
So there's like 71 senators voted to go ahead and sell them this. Yesterday this happened. Yesterday, also in Yemen, the Saudis had an airstrike that killed 20 civilians, which the civilians getting killed in Yemen, unfortunately, that is a daily occurrence. Every single morning when I wake up, one of the first things I'll check is antiwar.com. Almost daily, there's another report of more civilians in Yemen getting killed.
And bear in mind, these are civilians. These are people that are not holding guns, people that are not throwing grenades, people that are just like you and I that want nothing to do with any of this. They're just trying to go about their daily lives.
Certainly. And the people that supposedly represent interest of the American people, yeah, of course they do, have just said, nah, not only are we going to let this continue, we're going to help them. And they've been helping them this entire time. The barrel bombs and all that crap they use, every bit of it comes from the United States. This is the same country. Like, why do we have to keep repeating the 28 pages? Why do we have to keep repeating that they were involved in 9/11? What's so sad is the rest of the world won't acknowledge that, so you have to keep repeating it because the corporate media, the mainstream federal politicians, they're all going to tell you that's crazy. What are you talking about? They didn't have anything to do with it. Of course they did. They've been caught. And yet, our senators, 71 of them yesterday, said, nah, let's just reward them instead. It's insane.
You know, I had there's a local, I posted a link earlier on Facebook about the same thing. And a guy who's a local talk show host in town posted a response and said, well, I respectfully disagree, but I think these guys were doing this because they were trying to support Saudi Arabia being a front to Iran or a buffer to Iran.
What?
Right. And then I had a friend who posted, and said something about, well, where were they at on 9/11? But yeah, that's what, and I couldn't help but think, it seems just like it's more likely refilling the stocks of Saudi Arabia and supplies that are being dwindling down with all the bombing they're doing in Yemen. So yeah, that was his take on it, which I'm sure it's interesting. I'm ready. I actually called Sessions' office, curious to see if he actually had a reason. So I left a message with the lady who you speak to when you want to talk about the foreign issues. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get a call back. But I'm anxious to see what exactly his response is and how they justify this. I'm sure it's not going to be as a buffer to Iran. But
his response is going to be two middle fingers in the air.
That's what I think. I don't think he'll get a response.
Tell him I'm golfing.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, I told him that we do radio. I didn't tell him the name of the show, but I told him we did a program and that we were definitely, since we covered a little bit of local politics, and I may have embellished the truth a little bit here, but that we'd love to get a take on, at least from my own knowledge, before we get too far into it. And I hate to, to discuss his situation, his vote on the air without knowing the legit take on it. So who knows? I'll probably still get the still.
Does it matter what his take is? Does it matter?
Well, no, I'm curious. No, I'm genuinely.
Oh, I'm with you to see what he says. Right.
Oh, it's equally ridiculous, right? It's just there's a lot of people, especially in this state, who hold him up, of course, as the be-all, end-all conservative, Mr. Conservative, and like you said, in 9/11, this is exactly what was in the back of my mind. That is high of all things, 9/11, the 9/11 connection. For all the people that fancy themselves as so patriotic, they can't think that there was anything, that there was any overstep as far as before or even after 9/11. You would think that this would be the time that they need to take a look and see that, hey, there's some fishiness going on here, and it's time to. It's time to realize things are not what they seem, and labels are not always what they seem.
Well, think about this. The United States has used 9/11 as an excuse to blow apart the entire Middle East except for the country that was involved.
Right.
That's right, and that's who's rewarded. Well,
to the tune of 38 point billion. How much was it? 38 point something billion. That's not being discussed either. It's 38 point.
Oh, you talking about Israel? Yeah.
Yes.
Why are we giving anybody billions of dollars of anything when we are broke? We have no money.
Oh, I know. Of all
Official
time.
tally's 19 trillion.
That's what I'm saying. If we were broke, we wouldn't be owing. We would not owe. What is it? The $19 trillion right now.
And counting.
Debt. We're in debt. We don't. It's not just the fact that we're broke. I mean, we're so far in debt. There's no way we can possibly get ourselves out of it.
No, and the interest is so ridiculous at this point by itself. Yeah, it's. But of course, hey guys, look, don't worry, because we're going to get the king. I like to laugh. We have got the king of debt coming into office.
Oh my goodness!
When Big Daddy Trump gets a hold of this debt, you know what's going to happen, right?
He's going to run us into more debt.
That man is not going to be president. Y'all are being silly.
You're just thinking the wrong way.
I don't know if he's going to be president.
No, I've been watching the elections. I don't know if y'all have, but I know exactly who our president's going to be, and everybody hates her fucking guts.
That's not true. She won't
I
be.
don't think she necessarily will be. I don't know. We'll see.
Speaking of
Yep.
Hillary Clinton, did y'all hear Libya? We've got a story up on the antimedia.org right now on the front page. Libyans who once opposed Gaddafi now regret U.S.-led regime change.
Imagine.
This is wild. That people that fought in the revolution to overthrow Gaddafi, they now say he was the greatest guy in the world. What has happened since is just beyond barbaric. And they said the reason they fought against him was because of the propaganda that was being spread of what he was about to start doing to everybody. And it was time, for him to go. And what's happened since then has been just pure chaos. And it was all done at the direction in the hands of, once again, the U.S. government. This time as Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. You can kind of get, this is at least one you can kind of get Republicans to go on a little bit because Hillary was the Secretary of State. And if she touched it, they hate it. So you can kind of get them a bit. Benghazi, you got all that too. But it's not like Gaddafi was the greatest guy in the world, because he wasn't by any stretch of the imagination. But that's what people don't realize is what we bring afterwards to these countries is it's hell on earth. And we have all these refugees that people are complaining about. Where do you think these refugees are coming from? They're coming from countries that we've blown apart. And for what? And why? Does anybody still know why? Again, they've used 9/11 as an insinuation to get us into anything. You don't want that to happen again, do you? Well, you better let us do this. And they're starting the Iran propaganda again. Look, Iran is no saint. They are what they are. But not only do we deal with Saudi Arabia, we just gave them $1 billion in weapons. So why is Iran so terrible and Saudi Arabia is not? And I don't want to hear the whole nuclear weapon thing. They're using this just like they said, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, whatever they can say to cause tension.
Okay, so Iran's got nuclear weapons. We've got nuclear weapons,
They
right?
don't. Right.
Okay, well.
I don't know. It's just all propaganda spewed out to make people scared, to drum up support for some stupid, idiotic war for absolutely no reason.
And again, I don't understand why we should be concerned about anybody having nuclear weapons. I mean, we have nuclear weapons. Anybody wants to go ahead and test and see how many nuclear weapons we got?
Well, you don't want people to start throwing nukes. That's a whole different conversation for another time. But at the same time, I'm with you. The basis of your point.
Well, I mean, really, it kind of ties in on a much smaller scale, and follow me down the rabbit hole for a second. It kind of ties in with what we talk about as far as the Second Amendment goes. Who am I to say that somebody can't have a gun?
Well, you know how they scare people. Well, they can't have it. They can't. We're scared of them.
Yeah, I mean, the only person I have control over is me, myself, and I. And so if I'm armed, that's all I really need to worry about, right? Because I can defend myself in any situation.
That's how the United States looks at it, because for some odd reason, people have the dual belief that we live in the greatest, most wonderful country that's ever been created in the history of mankind, while at the same time completely terrified and living in fear at all times.
And also, too, it kind of ties in with this whole, well, we are also, the way that the American life is and the American existence is, it is morally superior. And so we elect these people, and then we hold them on this certain pedestal that they're going to be triply morally superior and go ahead and fight for every single best interest for the good of the country.
Well, the push and pull there is the whole Democrat-Republican thing, because you have people that can blame the stuff about government that you hate. There's an outlet for that. So if I'm a Democrat, I can blame all the problems in the world on the Republicans, or vice versa. And then all the good stuff that they do. Oh yeah, they're taking care of me. They're doing this. They're doing that. That's that's the party you support, and that's how people view it.
But you start going down and looking at individual voting records, though. There's no difference between the two.
You take a step back and you just go, wait a second. There's no difference in any of these people.
Yep. People that are, and it's very well documented and well chronicled, especially when we talk about folks with the last name Clinton, for instance. They're definitely not morally superior by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. In fact, it's quite the opposite in a lot of areas.
And even though they're fighting in a very uphill battle, there are a handful of them, not enough to make much of a difference, but there's a handful of them that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, there's the Freedom Caucus I think has like 60 members, and it's slowly growing.
Yeah, you had Chris Murphy, Democrat, and then Rand Paul, who, of course, is a Republican, that were the ones doing their best to get that legislation put down about sending the tanks to Saudi Arabia. 27 people were on board with it, that, it shouldn't happen. But 71 were like, no thanks. This one I thought was quite funny, if it can be suggested any of this is funny, was Ted Cruz voted for it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Honest old Ted.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Haven't heard his name in a while. We haven't really talked about Ted much lately. What's he doing?
He's fighting the internet.
Low. He's got a re-election campaign, doesn't he?
He's fighting internet censorship right now, I believe.
No, he's still got a while. It's got 2 more years left.
Yeah, he's come for a while. He came in, 2000?
He's hoping everybody will forget all of that, that business about him going on stage. And
he'll be fine, because Rubio's running right now. And if Rubio can get embarrassed like he did, But Rubio and Cruz, too, that's, they've both got big money backing them.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so, that always helps. Look at how in the world has Lindsey Graham been reelected 20 million times in a row? Because all the money in South Carolina and probably outside of South Carolina is keeping him in office.
There's a lot of log cabin Republicans in South Carolina. I'll just leave it at that.
You're right about that.
Hey, girl.
So, old Lindsay. But what do you think about this argument that, well, if we don't sell them the weapons, somebody else will? That's what Mitch McConnell was going on about. That's the most ludicrous argument I've ever heard.
That guy.
Because
substitute that with anything else and see how it sounds.
right.
It would be ridiculous.
Look at how
We
they
don't
talk.
sell
Look at how they
drugs.
talk about the drug war. Right. Well, if we don't sell them these drugs, somebody else will sell them to them.
Right.
What other drug dealer said that to his cop? Well, look. If I don't sell it, oh, okay, fair enough. Go on your way.
Right.
There are some that do. The trick is they have to give the cop a little bit of their cut. You know that works.
Well, fair enough. But in large, people are going to be like, that's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard.
It really is. That's a stupid rationale.
But we had 71. We had 71 go along with it. I bet you that's what Sessions said. Will say. That's the only excuse they could use, and it's as ridiculous as it is. So, yeah, the situation in Syria, too, by the way, that's just really, really, really messed up. We hadn't talked about that as much recently, but it's at all sides. Russia's saying it's the U.S. breaking ceasefires, the U.S. saying it's Russia. Assad, nobody is good in the whole thing. And it's just propaganda from one side or the other. I'm telling you, as soon as Obama's gone, they're going to go after Assad. That it's not going to be good. Because it's going to incite Russia. And that's one difference between all these other countries, whether it be Libya or what they're doing in Yemen right now, or Iraq, Afghanistan. Russia was just like, whatever you got to do. We went to Afghanistan, and we can tell you how that's going to work out for you, not well. But Syria, different. And I feel like it's going to drag us into something we're not going to be able to walk away from. It's terrifying to think of it that way. I don't know why. You know, I guess, are they at a standstill right now where we're just having this stare off? That's kind of what it seems. It's, you know, we're trying to call a ceasefire every other day, and then, oh, so-and-so broke it. Oh, so-and-so broke it. Until it just gets too heated to the point of the two people behind really what's going on right now. And I won't say Russia's behind it. They were invited, and they got there pretty late, so it's not like they're masterminding anything. Whatever,
this is the second time, that they came in and left earlier. Well, came in and kind of, left, packed up and kind of chilled out for a little while, and now they're back again, it seems. Or they're taking them, or they're reactivated who was there. They came through earlier a few months ago and kind of cleaned house.
And
that's,
yeah,
the U.S. Yeah, we're.
Say that one more time. Repeat what you just said. It seems like your phone went out a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that. Just that, this is the second time that Russia has kind of come in and kind of kicked it up a notch. They came in here the first part of the year, I think it was, and kind of cleaned house, and really, I think maybe even last summer, really embarrassed the U.S. to an extent, in that they wiped out a lot of the communications and intelligence systems that ISIS was doing in just a matter of, seemingly weeks, something that the U.S. couldn't do while they were over there for months and even years. So, yeah, it's
They've been over there about a year. Even though we're technically still not supposed to be there, are we? Like, how's that working?
Well, yeah, we're not supposed to be there at all. But, it's funny. The last headline I saw was that the Pentagon militias were squaring off with the CIA militias. Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah, we're fighting each other. The people we're funding what we're fighting over there. Have you seen, look, the Syrian rebels? There's videos of them doing the most atrocious, horrible things, beheading children.
Oh, of course.
And we're backing it. Oh, yes, it's just terrible. And then you've got the people in Turkey coming down. They're fighting the Kurds. Everybody's against each other. We're funding half of each other to fight each other. And then there's Assad, who we want gone. And then now there's Russia. It's a serious issue that people should be paying more attention to. I know that. Kerry,
it's quieted down, I don't know.
Well, they're pushing that no-fly business right now again.
Well, on top of that, Kerry, mentioned that he wished that the news media wouldn't report on some stuff so much. That if they wouldn't, that the U.S. wouldn't look so bad for their failures to really get a lot done.
Oh, they wish that they could shut the news down completely. Oh,
of course. Hey, you don't worry, buddy. As soon as Big Daddy Trump gets in there, he's already said that he's going to go after them. I don't think he'll do it.
Trump he's not going to get invited to the big dance. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen.
I still don't know what's going to happen with him. I just know Hillary's never going to be president.
Bought and paid for, my friend.
I don't think she
I
will.
still say, look, maybe not. We may have a smooth October, but who's going to be shocked if just something crazy in October goes down?
Like she croaks?
It could be anything. It could be anything. Who knows? It could be somebody going after idiot Trump. It could be her falling over or whatever she's sick with this week. They're
hot pneumonia.
And there's rumors that they could start something up with Russia. Of course, everybody's got in the back of their mind, terrorist attack. Because we know the frenzy that'll send people into.
Well, it's always, at every election, there's always that fear of the so-called October surprise. Always has been. It's always there. It'll always be there. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen. It just seems like terrorism is such a broad and probable term that you can paint right off the bat. That the media and everybody else.
And I think with how erratic this election has been already, that's probably amped up let's see what happens. Hopefully it's not too bad. So I don't know, and we could get through. But we've got how do you really think that's going to go?
Shannon?
She's going to look like, I just don't think it's going to work out well for her. I think it's purely in the political theater of the sense of it. It can be straight WWE. We might as well be talking about it. It's not going to work out for her. I'm telling you. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, whatever.
Yep. She didn't have
y'all are not watching the same TV that I am, man, because I'm telling you, it's already bought and paid for. This election is a joke. The voting process is a joke. They're going to put whoever they want in there, and they want Hillary Clinton. They want Hillary Clinton because she is good for business. She's
an old dying lady. She's not good for anybody doing anything.
I'm down with you on that. I'm in total agreement with you, but she's going to be the next president of the United States. You might as well mark it on your calendar. If she can make it that long. If she can make it that long.
If she is, it's only going to be because they're fine with Tim Kaine, and they really want Tim Kaine to be in there. That's the only one.
Look, as long as they've got somebody that is willing to do exactly what they've got already laid out, somebody who's willing to stand firm against Iran and the terror there, because that's where we're headed next. Let's go ahead and mark it down. Well, some people have also suggested Nigeria too. So,
well, they've been saying Iran for like a decade now.
And again, Iran was a hot topic in both the Republican and Democratic debates. Every single candidate that was left on the dais, with the exception of Rand Paul, was favorable to going to open war with Iran.
Oh, of course. That's always, but it's always been one of those countries that they'll yell at and they'll point at, and they can because people are
I
sympathetic.
don't think what was Bernie on Iran? I don't remember.
Bernie kind of gave a soft tail, kind of. Well, if that's we're going to look at the situation, and if that's what deems necessary. But yeah, he was definitely favorable for going to war with Iran if that's what we wanted to do. Basically, he already knew the rest of that.
He's not near as peace activist that people, unfortunately, that his followers think and wish that he were.
No,
who cares what Bernie thinks? Because Bernie's out of the picture. He's already been just stuffing knife in him, and he's done.
He is, man.
Well, Bernie did it to him. Well, kind of to him. So if you could still see the imprint to the back of his forehead from the gun they put up to it when they got him to.
Yeah. When it was all said and done, he had no
her at that time.
But it had to have been a very sore loss for him, and I know his butthurt supporters.
Oh, can you imagine when he's laying in his bed on his deathbed and he's thinking about his life, and he's thinking about how he led of all people Hillary Clinton. Screw him, and then Hillary Clinton either dies in office or doesn't get elected anyways. Can you imagine, that has to be like his biggest regret, to have been as sincere as I think he genuinely is a sincere individual as far as what he's pushing for, as far as his revolution. I think his heart's probably in the right place, even if his economics is retarded, it's stupid as hell. But I'm sure it's got to be his biggest regret is giving it up to Hillary Clinton, taking it, like you said, Shannon, and he's been over for her, and that's what he gets. I mean, he deserves every bit of it.
And what's so nuts is he really, really had a coalition of people behind him. He was really building a sort of, we can't do math, but a real revolution.
Oh man, the burn was strong, dude. For a minute there.
And I'll tell you what, I think it helped wake a lot of people up.
Oh, and definitely.
What happened with Bernie in the long run is going to be a positive thing because a lot of people saw something they didn't expect to see. I think so many people were like, we're going to go probably with Hillary, and then Bernie shows up, well, we'll go with him, and if he doesn't win, we'll be fine with her. And then they saw how she acted. They saw how he got completely robbed, how he got screwed, whatever she is, she really is, and it's as bad as everybody said all these years. They finally found out because they saw her as an opponent for once as opposed to, oh, that's just what you do. You go along with the Clintons. And
at least
the youth had a lot to do with it. Look, the Clintons that's old news. That was young and hip in 1992. And you had all these young people backing Bernie, and I don't know, I think he could have done. I think the way it ended was not good, because at least with Ron Paul's revolution, even though it was much smaller, the offshoot of where people have gone with that and taken it is crazy. I don't know if you'll see that with Bernie's people or not. I would like to think you would, but there was a big letdown at the end of that one, and not so much with Ron. I don't think Ron stuck to his guns the whole time, for better or worse.
Well, it doesn't matter because regardless of whoever wins this presidential election, I can guarantee you, I know who the losers are going to be. And I think it's going to be all of us, the American public.
I tell you what, we're about done here. Any last words for us, Kevin?
Hey, that's it, buddy. In the Fed, baby.
Shannon, over to you.
Go check out the Zach Galifianakis Between Two Ferns with Hillary Clinton. You will laugh your ass off.
Yeah, that was pretty
I had to get that in. It's hilarious.
Email. That's it. SM Gibson, Anti-Media Radio. Levon
You've got
here
mail.
tomorrow night. UCY. Anti-Media.
No, through the stereo. Yo, here we go. Go through the stereo.